What's up, everybody? It's Killer B, the goddamn witch finder general. You got a witch, I'm burning their asses up every goddamn time. Sorry for the delay. I forgot to hit the button to put me up in the screen. Um, I do this video on graffiti. I did a short yesterday, um, showing some graffiti out here and stuff, non-legal wall stuff. So something to spark my interest and stuff because Negi commented on it, and I replied back with some stuff like my little history and something it sparked my interest in stuff about Tracy 168 is a famous graffiti artist that the original Wildstyle. There was a graffiti book video. Negi had said he got a couple of graph books on graffiti and stuff, but there was one a book from like the early 90s. It might have came out in that late 80s or something like that, right? I believe it was called Wildstyle. Um, and Tracy 168 is like the OG of that style of graffiti writing, which is like, you know, very creative, abstract art that the normal person can't read, but the graffiti artist can see what it is. Like the stuff I showed in that short, most people couldn't read what the name is. I could read it. Um, and I told them a little bit about my history. I was a graffiti writer from I would say 89 strong, 89 to about 98. So I put it a good 10 years probably in the whole graph scene. I was around some of the top graffiti artists and stuff in Connecticut. Um, but believe it or not, Connecticut was like fucking like on the map, like straight up for graffiti. And you would think, graffiti is one of the elements of hip hop, and graffiti really wasn't a how could I say it? If I'm saying this right, they'll say it's all y'all graph heads that come out here, old school heads and shit, y'all talk some shit or whatever. But it really wasn't a black thing, I wouldn't say. Um for one, top graffiti artists in Connecticut were all like white people. Um and far as I know, in New York City, top graffiti artists were Hispanic. Um, I also commented with Negi, who are two people in the room. What's up, y'all? Um, how I met Tracy 168. Tracy 168 is a famous graffiti artist. My boy Ian, he's from the Bronx. He moved down here, I believe, in like what, 90, 91 or something like that. He was a skateboarder from the Bronx, and he moved to Bridgeport, and he used to skate out of our high school. And we just met him one day. We like, who the fuck is this dude? Like, you know what I mean? He was older than us. He was like 21 when we were like 14, 15 years old. So we definitely clicked up with him like real quick because he had a car. So he would drive us to all these skate spots and stuff like that, and spots that we known that we would have to take a train and stuff. Now we got a person with a car that can drive us there, like, you know what I mean. Then he would take us back to the Bronx, to his old stomping grounds, his old housing projects in the Bronx. I can't remember the name of the housing project, but it was the housing project that Stacy 168 lived in, and he was friends with him. Me being like 14, 15, probably 15 years old at the time. Um, he took me to his old apartment building, project housing building in the Bronx. And I met Tracy 168. And he was under the influence of PCP. And he decided to give me lessons on putting up tags and shit with the fat markers, right? With the mops. Some of y'all old school heads and shit. Now you can buy mops. Mops are like wide markers. Um, you can picture a deodorant stick. That's a marker. But back in the day, now you could buy them. But back in the day, you had to make them. So you would steal your school eraser and stuff, and take a deodorant stick, fill it with ink, and cut the school eraser and jam it in it, and you would create a mop. You would call it a mop, or you would take your old school shoe white. A lot of y'all old school heads and shit, y'all know what the shoe white is. If y'all 40 something years old and stuff, at least 40 and up, y'all know what a mop is. Actually, no, not probably not 40. 40, at least 45 and up. Y'all know what a mop is. The shoe white that you would have your leather Pumas, and they had a thing that was called shoe white, right? So when your white leather Pumas would start getting beat down, or your white shell toe Adidas, it was like a white paint, and you could paint over your sneakers and make them look fresh and clean again, right? So we would use that back in the day as markers, and it was like a round deodorant stick, like a roll-on deodorant stick, but it had a sponge at the end. It was like the shape of a roll-on deodorant stick, but it had a sponge. You know what I'm saying? You could write on stuff, like your bus stop windows, like the bus stop um, window panes and stuff. And like, you tag up all your smooth surfaces like metal and window glass surfaces with that. But it was also back in the day, in the b-boy days, we could with the whole hip hop breakdance and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hook your shoes up, keep your shoes clean. We had fresh sneakers back in the day. Like all the sneakers was fresh. I had all the suede Pumas, all the leather Pumas, all that shit. Switch shell toe Adidas, the whole nine, right? Then you get the paint markers that they were like spray paint. What up, Shamian? They were like spray paint, and you shake it, and like have the little ball in it, like you got a can of spray paint, and you push down on it and stuff into the ink, bleed into the tip, and then you could color your sneakers. Like say like the stripe on your Adidas and stuff, you color that shit in. Um, or we use it on our notebooks in school and tag our stuff up and stuff. Like my first tag was T Rock Ski. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had no idea, being like a little kid, probably what, 10, 11, 12, whatever, with T Rock Ski, not knowing what the rock and ski like that. But I knew that was some B-boy shit. So, you know what I'm saying? My name was T Rock Ski. That shit was hard. And that's when I first started tagging back in the day. We had like a band in school and stuff. Wherever we could get our hands on some spray paint. At the time, though, New York City, spray paint was illegal. You couldn't buy spray paint. I believe you could buy it, but you had to Yeah, that was some dumbass shit. Killer Bee didn't check my battery life and shit on my computer before I started screaming. Drunk life. All right, drunk life before work. But yeah. So what I was talking about here? Um, split 5K. Hell no, no. My mom used to buy me all the kicks, yo. Yo, I had the every suede Puma you could think of, every color, like every color, uh, every leather color. I had the Lee outfits. Like I would get the Lee outfits. My mother wouldn't buy me Lees without the whole complete outfit. Like so, if I had the Lee jeans, right? So I had the gray black pinstripe. I had the gray black pinstripe jacket to go with that motherfucker. So if I had the baby blue and white pinstripe, I had the baby blue and white pinstripe jacket to go with that motherfucker. And they made about shit. I couldn't even think of how many color variations, but I had all those motherfuckers. And went out, and like back in the day and shit, in the 80s, summertime come, what I'm saying? My mother knew how to sew and like hem my pants because I was a fat kid. So like I would have to get bigger size pants, but the legs would be long for my size because I was a little kid. So the legs would be long, but the waist size would be fit, but the legs would be too long. So my mother would like know how to like hem the pants and shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So when summertime come, I would take some like that jeans that might have been wore out that I played. What the fuck is that shit? The hell? Oh, this dumb retarded ass bitch on my phone and shit. That old fucking Aunt Nandy fucking old hag, cigarette hag, Paul Mall cigarette hag popped up on my damn phone. Fuck off my shit. But no sound. I ain't got no sound, nigga. Oh, that must be was before. Okay. Um, so I had all the gear. I had all the gear, the nameplate belts and the African patches. Y'all niggas and shit. If y'all wasn't for the Northeast, y'all didn't know nothing about African patches. If you watch the X Clan or Brand Nubian, who else is shit? X Clan, Brand Nubian, Trical Quest, they would rock the African patches. So they were like leather patches that you have like on a necklace, and the African emblem was embossed in the leather and painted like with the red, black, and green and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I wish I still had that shit. I might have that shit in the attic, maybe. Maybe. I ain't been in the attic in years. But that was the shit back in the day. That was the straight B-boy shit. But I had all the gear. Like I was fresh as a motherfucker in elementary school. Like niggas wasn't fucking with me with the fashion. I was getting shit by Dapper Dan. I was getting jackets made by Dapper Dan and shit. Like you watch Paid in Full and shit, when them niggas is rocking those MCM jackets, Louis Vuitton jackets and shit like that from Dapper Dan was making. I was getting them shits back in the day. I was fly as fuck. I wish I had some pictures. I don't know if I got some pictures here or not. I wish I could find some. I could show y'all them motherfuckers and shit. Like the straight up shit from Paid in Full. Like when you see Alpo Martinez and stuff with the MCN jackets and shit like that, yo, I was rocking that shit, nigga. Like straight up. Like I was spoiled when I was a little kid. Like mad kids was jealous and shit in school and shit. Like I had Tremaine. I know Tremaine subscribed to my joint. Tremaine, shit. Like tell that shit how we was rocking that shit, nigga, back in the day. My boy Tremaine Garrett. He was a fly nigga too. He was like they'll say we was neck and neck with the fly shit. But Tremaine, he was a little nigga. So like, you know what I'm saying? He had the little nigga shit. And he was fly, like, you know what I'm saying, with the Jordan ass jeans and shit. But the nigga was bow-legged and shit. You know what I'm saying? But me and Tremaine, we was like the flyest niggas. His dad was like in the motorcycle club and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Tremaine was a fly nigga, like, you know what I'm saying? But I was a fly nigga. I was the first nigga in school to have Jordans, like the Jordan 1s. Matter of fact, I still got the Jordan 1 shoebox in my other attic. I got two attics in my house. In the other attic, I saw that shit like 2 years ago. Mint condition. I looked up on eBay. Somebody was selling one for like $25. So too bad I ain't got no shoes, the shoes to go with it. But I had the baby blue and black Jordan ones. But like back in the day, for kids, they only had the black, red, and white joints. But if you was adult, they had the black, baby blue, and black colorway. So I was wearing adult sneakers when all my friends and shit, they were still wearing kid size sneakers. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had big feet, so I was wearing adult joints. So I came through first nigga in the school with the baby blue and black, and nobody couldn't bite off me. Like we would say back in the day, yo, why you biting? Like if you come to school like with the same shit another nigga got, they be like, yo, you biting, nigga. You might get punched in the face and get beat up after school. Like, you know what I'm saying? But niggas couldn't bite off of me. Because I was rocking shit that they couldn't get if they wanted to. Because they couldn't fit the shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? But back on the graffiti shit, though. What up, Neggy? Tracy 168 was like a famous dude. I don't know if you got the book Wildstyle, Neggy. That was a graffiti book that used to be at Barnes and Nobles and I forgot the other bookstore name back in the day and shit. It was called Wildstyle. And Tracy 168 was like, he like the founder of that shit. But my boy Ian and shit, he took me back to his old project building. First thing, as soon as he walked in the building, the elevator never worked. And that shit got like goddamn shit, probably 50 goddamn floors in that motherfucker and shit. New York City housing projects got ridiculous amount of floors. I went to a weed spot, some nigga like showed the spot to get some fucking bud and shit one day. And I'm in the elevator and we are like the 35th floor. I'm like, yo, what the fuck kind of shit is this? I was bugging out in the elevator and niggas was laughing at me. I was like, yo, shit, we ain't got shit past like 12, 15 floors in Connecticut, like where I'm at and shit. Like this son of a bitch, 30 goddamn fifth floor. Like, yo, what the fuck kind of shit is that? Right? So buy some KO again and shit. Kind of like the Matrix with the crazy tenement housing. Yo, but this shit crazy, yo. He said the elevator never worked. Never worked. You always had to take the stairs. And you got like junkies and shit that's hanging out on the floor. You got to step over these niggas and shit. But we went to the bottom floor. I remember this shit. I'm probably like 15. I wasn't 16 yet. I don't think I was driving yet. And what was crazy, it was illegal that nigga bringing us to New York. Because we was underage. He was an adult. That nigga was bringing our little asses to New York. Because like he was taking us to the Brooklyn banks and shit. If y'all played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, the video game, I believe they got the Brooklyn banks. And yeah, I think it's in part 2 of Tony Hawk. They got the Brooklyn banks. Brooklyn banks is no longer and shit. It's like all gated in and shit. You can't access it no more. But that was the shit. Like we go ollie over the fucking New Jersey barrier onto the highway ramp. Like that was the shit back in the day. Y'all type in Brooklyn Banks, y'all see what's up. Maali Skate Park, which is still there since the 80s and shit. Shout out to Maali Skate Park heads and shit. He was taking us to all the spots. In Riverdale, New York, with all the Jewish people and shit. Like where I saw like Jewish people having their own police. Like they got their own police like shit going on. So like they call the cops the Jewish cops coming. Like ain't the regular like city cops coming. No, the Jewish cops coming. Like they got the whole like out here we got a section of town is like the town name, and then we got a section of the town that got a different name, but it's the same town. Like, you know what I'm saying? So Riverdale, New York is really the Bronx, but it's the more wealthy part of the Bronx. And that's where all the Jewish people live and shit. Right. So he had a couple of friends and stuff that lived out there and shit that we skated with and stuff. We skated at his high school. I think it was what 248, two something. I forgot the name of the school. But some of the best skaters I ever met from New York City, right? But yeah, we go in this housing project. Tracy 168 is in the stairwell, dusted out of his motherfucking mind. And that nigga got the marker. He like, yeah, know what I'm saying? You do it like this. You do it like that. Know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, you know who this is? This Tracy Wilson. I was like, oh shit. Like, know what I'm saying? Like, that shit was crazy. Like, I was starstruck, nigga. Niggas dusted out of his motherfucking mind. And like the rest of the niggas that was there was I remember there was some like crazy drug dealer nigga that had like fucking Mr. T Gold on. And that nigga was always talking about like, you know what I'm saying, any moment, like, you know what I'm saying, motherfucker could take his life and shit. And like I think we was on mescalines and shit when we went there and shit. So we tripping our asses off. And like we noticed me and my other boy like that was with us. We be like, we standing in front of this nigga. Like, know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers come out and spray this motherfucker up. They hitting us too and shit. Like, know what I'm saying? So it was some weird shit. But yeah, Tracy 168 and shit was fucking PCP'd out of his fucking mind. And that nigga, like, they tripped on us because we were from Connecticut and they thought Connecticut was like the woods. So they automatically thought we were like fucking lived on farms and shit like that. Right? These people never left their neighborhood. So we went upstairs to somebody's apartment. And these are older dudes. Like these are motherfuckers in their 20s and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or probably older than that. Cause my boy and shit, he was 21. We was like still like 15 and shit, right? Um, we saw these motherfuckers, they was doing cocaine and shit off a switchblade, right? And I like now I know what good cocaine looked like. You know what I'm saying? They had that beige shit. Like the cocaine y'all see on the TV is white, but the good cocaine is beige. You know what I'm saying? I keep that shit 100. What up, no say? Keep that shit 100 and shit, right? So we sit over there and shit. These niggas got the coke and the aluminum foil, and they got a switchblade, and they passing that shit around and shit. We just looking. We like these motherfuckers up in here doing cocaine, motherfucker. We were like, these some grown niggas right here, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? We was smoking weed like a motherfucker and shit, like tripping on acid and mushrooms and mescalines and shit. But we was fucking with no like hard drugs and shit. But these niggas in there doing cocaine. So we like, God damn, like, you know what I'm saying? So them niggas would have gave that shit to us if we asked for it too, right? So my boy tells me later, he's like, yo, those motherfuckers got like a bathtub full of cocaine. So I guess like the motherfuckers, you know, they be holding the shit for like, you know, like big time drug, like motherfuckers get money out there, like get money. Like y'all watch that Paid in Full shit, Al Paul Martinez and all that bullshit. That shit real. So he's like, yo, those motherfuckers got like fucking like a bathtub full of cocaine, right? But they all broke. And like they need something, they sell some cocaine, go to the store, get some eggs and milk and shit, and going back to the crib. Like these motherfuckers never left their neighborhood. So they don't know anything about the outside world. Nothing about the outside. Within like a couple blocks of where they live at, they know nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Rob Rock in the corner smoking crack. Nah, you can't really OD on coke, nigga. Motherfucker sniff coke like a summer bitch. You gotta do mad coke, motherfucking, to die off of cocaine, nigga. Heroin one thing and shit, but cocaine is shit. If you die from fucking cocaine, nigga, shit, I don't know what the fuck you shit. It's hard to die off motherfucking cocaine, nigga. If you die off of cocaine, you ain't had no business having that much cocaine. Know what I'm saying? That's how that shit works. But I'm talking too much though. But yeah, that shit was crazy. But the whole graffiti thing and shit, like, it was crazy in Connecticut. Like, we had like Brat, that was like an old school nigga. We had Cries that goes by Berserk. right now and shit. That's my boy and shit. I met him like in the 80s, late 80s. We used to skateboard and stuff. But he's still graphing. Like he's still out there. Um, we had Bell Rock, you know what I'm saying? There was Bell back in the day. Now he go by as Bell Rock. Famous graffiti writer in Connecticut. That's my homie. Like that's my boy. Right? He's still out there rocking the cans. With his boy Keeza. Shout out to Keeza. We got Seth. That's when I was going hard and shit. That was one of my homies and shit. Seth. We got Enemy. He no longer paints and shit, but he was out there back in the day. We got what's my homie? He went by Test and Jawa and shit. Chris Schroeder and shit. He was from Boston and he moved out here to Connecticut and New Haven and stuff. I think he's still painting right now. I saw some stuff on Instagram. I think he's still out there. Emit is one of my favorite artists. If y'all guys could Google him and shit, Emit stuff is just fucking amazing. Like you have to be on drugs to do shit like he does. Ewok was a Connecticut head. I believe Ewok was from Danbury. Like I knew of him, and it was funny. I went to Pratt college in Brooklyn one night on some rap shit, like on some hip hop shit, and ran into him and shit. And Ewok is like a famous graffiti artist. I seen Ewok stuff on video games. And land yacht longboards when I worked at the skate shop, and I was just like looking at the art on this shit. I'm like, yo, shit, this like I keep looking at it, right? And I saw the name and shit. I never really paid attention. Then one day I'm like, oh shit, that should say Ewok. He did the graphics for this longboard company. And I also see the stuff in there was a GameCube game that was like Grand Theft Auto, and it was like it had a Snoop Dogg was like in the theme. I forgot the name of the video game, but it was just like Grand Theft Auto, but it wasn't. I can't thinking the name of the game and shit. But it was just like Grand Theft Auto. It was for the Nintendo GameCube, and his artwork was in that video game. Who else that was real big and shit that I know? With Wildstyle and shit, with Stacy 168 was Cope. Cope was like my favorite writer and shit. We used to have these VHS tapes called Videograph, and it was just like fucking crazy shit, like motherfuckers bombing. Bombing is just putting up like quick stuff, quick letters and like tags and stuff on subways. Like when a subway train pull up, like you just hit that shit up real quick and be out. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Or like you just hit a wall real quick. Like in the city, you see like not full graffiti like pieces and shit. Like just they call it throw ups. Just be like letters and stuff with like just 2-color letters or tags or whatever. Cope is the king of that shit. You go to the Bronx, New York, you see Cope every 3 seconds in the Bronx and shit. Cope everywhere. I remember there's a Videograph tape that motherfucker kicking the police car, like tagging the police car and shit. And I know those Videograph videos are probably on YouTube and shit. I used to collect them shits back in the day. Yup, bombing. Yeah, nigga know what's up. Yup, and they be getting buffed and shit. It was cool. We had the Metro North line. So like we used to cover like mad territory, like from one end of the Metro North, like the Metro North Manhattan line, go from Grand Central Terminal to New Haven, Connecticut. And I definitely covered from New Haven to at least Stamford, Connecticut. And after Stanford, like you got Greenwich, then from Greenwich, you hit in New York City and shit. So like You know what I mean? We used to walk those tracks like for miles and just hitting everything we could hit. My boy Bell Rock, that nigga doing like he do straight up like that nigga in the fucking like the train yards. Like that nigga still with the shits. Like he really ripped that shit. Um he's also got a hobby of like taking pictures of like freight trains and stuff. So he knows like a lot about freight trains and shit like that. But that nigga be in the train yards doing shit. Um we get a lot of freight trains come through my town like late night. Like you catch the motherfuckers like 1, 2 in the morning. And I can hear them from my house and shit. You can hear them motherfuckers. They loud as fuck. Like I live far away from the train tracks and shit. You still hear those motherfuckers. Like at like a real quiet night and stuff. And you can see like mad graffiti like artists from New York and stuff. It'll be like fucking the train be long as fuck. And I don't know what they be carrying, but they're like, I don't know, it's coal or what inside those trains and stuff. Uh Miami got a big graffiti scene. Miami got a real big graffiti scene. Yeah, that shit still happens. I never did that shit though. Always wanted to. I never got to had the opportunity to do that shit. We get the side trains and stuff like the sidelines. Like you got the Danbury line, the Waterbury line. Those aren't like electric trains. Those are diesel trains. So they run off of diesel, like fucking gas. Like the normal Metro North run off the electricity and shit. But it's overhead electricity. Like New York subways got the third rail. You know what I'm saying? And I learned about that shit too. Like you can actually step on the third rail, like you step on top of it. Like with your foot, like get underneath that motherfucker, your ass gonna die, motherfucker. That shit gonna fry your ass like bacon, nigga. But you can step on the third rail and shit. Um, but when you hit Connecticut, well, actually, no. It's on that overhead electricity and shit all the way to Grand Central. Just the subways go off like the third rail on the track itself. Um, but the diesel trains and shit, like the diesel trains is crazy. Like they mad loud too and shit. And they go a lot slower. So like a lot of stuff like spots and stuff where we used to paint, they're on those lines and stuff. You got the diesels. So like we putting up stuff and whatnot. Like we be under a bridge or something and stuff. That we would know that when the trains is coming and stuff. We hear that motherfucker come. We just duck on the other side of the wall or whatever. But we used to do crazy shit too. We used to put like shit on the tracks. I don't know what the fuck we was thinking. We could have derailed those trains. I remember one time we put a fucking couch. I don't even know how a couch got down there, but we put a couch on the fucking railroad tracks, and fucking the train came through and shit was like blah, and like we hid behind the wall. We had enough sense and shit. Like when the train hit that shit's going flying. That shit can kill your motherfucking ass. Like the spikes, the railroad spikes. We used to put the spikes on the tracks and let the trains hit it. And we hear that shit fly and hit the wall and shit like that. And we see the big fucking like gouge that shit put in the concrete wall. That shit hit us and shit. That shit would kill your motherfucking ass. Yeah, we used to do stupid shit. We used to put bikes, bicycles, like anything we could find on railroad tracks, we laying that shit down on the motherfucking tracks. Yeah, we was dumb as fuck. We was dumb as fuck. We could have derailed those trains and shit, killed motherfuckers and shit. We ain't give a fuck. We was little kids though. We ain't know no better. Yeah, I remember time we put a couch on that motherfucker. That train hit that couch. That shit was like blah. That motherfucker didn't say. That shit was like matchsticks, motherfucker. That shit fucked that shit up. He said I was way too bored. He did every dumb thing I lied. Yeah. This is past your era and shit. Like this is way before your era, nigga. We ain't had no internet and shit, so we had to be outside, motherfucker. We were doing shit outside for real, for real. Yeah, what's up, Robert? That couch was a shrapnel bomb for the force, for real. Hell yeah, that shit was crazy. We put shit on there and duck behind the wall and let that motherfucker hit that shit. I got arrested for graffiti once and shit too. That was like the stupidest shit ever. I blame my boy and shit. We went to this one spot, the spot that we put the actual couch on, and like we was broke. Like we ain't had no weed. I think we had a little weed and shit, but we was broke to the motherfucker and shit. And my boy had money, but he was into those magic cards. Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard of magic. It was like these stupid cards that was out in the 90s. And he was all into that shit. Shout out to Jonas and shit with his dumb ass and his fucking magic cards. Right? So the motherfucker wouldn't give us no bread. Like, yo, niggas, let's get $2 out of that motherfucker, out of your magic, like little fucking fund or whatever. To get we was vegan. I was vegan back then. So we would get the bean burritos with no cheese and shit from like Taco Bell back in the day, right? And that nigga wouldn't give us no bread and shit, right? So we mad as fuck. So we like, yo, fuck it. I don't even want to pay here. We were just irritated. So we went back to the spot that was closer to where we lived at. It was like an abandoned UPS building, like an old UPS building and shit. And it was like fucking, it was huge, like a huge motherfucking building, but it was abandoned for like years. The only way in there was through like a slot, like in a door. And my fat ass could barely fit through this. So somebody would have to go through first. And then I would try to wedge my ass like through that shit. They would have to help pull me all the way through that motherfucker because I was too fat. I had to suck up my gut and shit to fit through that shit. But there were some little kids that went there through the main entrance, and they had like, I guess they had a guard, and the guard saw the kids, and he called the cops. So the cops caught the kids, and the kids told on us. So the cops went up in there, and I'm wondering how they got in there because I know they ain't crawled through that motherfucking little hole and shit. But what was crazy, right? We was doing pieces and shit up in there, right? We had mad paint and shit. We was chilling and shit. We had fucking, and the cops was like free. They came out of nowhere, like in the building, like it was quiet as fuck. Like we in a big fucking goddamn building, like a factory, like type. The shit was huge. Like it was fucking shit was like 4 floors, right? And they found us in it. It was quiet as fuck, and they had to drop on us. They were like freeze, right? And we turn around and look. Now I'm with 2 white motherfuckers, right? The cops only had the guns on me. They only had the guns pointed at me, right? They arrested us and shit. Took us to the police department. My boy Jonas, his dumb ass and shit. The cops is like, you got anything in the car that we should know about? Because they found the car that we came in and shit. And he was like, wait, I don't know. And me and my boy, we looking at this motherfucker like, motherfucker, like, say no, you stupid motherfucker. There might be some weed in that motherfucker. Like under the couch or something. They might have dropped a bag of weed or some shit, whatever. And the motherfucker thinking. And the cop looking at him dumb as fuck, like, what do you mean? What you thinking for, motherfucker? He was like, do you have anything in the car that we should know about? He's like, what? I don't know. He said, well, I got some cans for recycling and newspapers for the dog. And we just looked like he was like known for saying some dumb off-brand shit. Like, no, he was the social misfit. We used to call him the social misfit, right? So the cop just shook his motherfucking head. We shook our motherfucking heads and shit. This motherfucker just sitting there looking confused. But we had to go to court and all that bullshit. And the deal was we had to go back there. They couldn't find the owner of the fucking building. There was no response from the owner of the fucking property. So the judge told us to go back there and paint over what we painted. And we're like, it's a fucking abandoned fucking building. And it's inside the fucking abandoned building. He's like, just go paint over it. We like, all right. So the day we went and painted over the shit. We brought some more paint. We painted over the shit and put up more shit in the building. We painted over what we did and just went to another spot and shit and started painting up in that motherfucker. And like it was nobody to let us in. Like we had to get in the building the same way we normally get in through that little slot. It was the fucking most ridiculous thing on earth I fucking experienced. That was some dumbass shit. Yup, exactly. And right at the black motherfucker and shit. And it was funny. I ended up driving cabs in that town years later, and that cop, he was the sergeant, like the supervisor and shit of that town and shit. And he was like, he was friends with the cab motherfuckers and shit like that. And I'll always be a dick to him. And like I know he was just kind of like weird, like why is this motherfucker always an asshole? Like he never knew, like he didn't remember me. I remember that motherfucker though. I remember something that happened and shit. And I was behind the dispatcher desk. The dispatcher had to do something or somewhere or whatever. But I was talking shit. I wasn't sending no cabs to go. It's like, we need a cab over here. I'm like, no, motherfucker. We ain't got no cabs, motherfucker. Go out there like all this straight assholes and shit. Yo, I remember that motherfucker. His name was Tom. Motherfucker name was Tom. Fuck that motherfucker and shit. Hoping them niggas blow his motherfucking shit off. Right? But yeah, that's just crazy. But they made that spot into a new train station. Now it was called the TB Building. It was a graffiti crew called the Brotherhood. And it was also a street gang, like a real street gang called the Brotherhood. That was like kind of crazy. That there was the Brotherhood graffiti crew and the Brotherhood street gang and shit. That shit was kind of crazy. And the nigga P Soup, I think he was like the head of the Brotherhood and shit. This graffiti writer called P Soup. Um, yeah, yo, that graffiti shit was like crazy back in the day. We used to beat up motherfuckers, be looking for motherfuckers that went over us and shit. I remember we was like at the spot one time with fucking golf clubs and shit. We could beat the shit out of some motherfucker with golf clubs. Luckily, that motherfucker didn't show up and shit. We probably would have killed that motherfucker. I've been Killer B would have been in jail right now. All the weird those day and times, yeah, right? Yeah, fucking. Oh, what else we fucking used to do and shit? Who else fucking we used to pay? My boy Seth and shit. He was up as fuck. Like he wasn't like the shit, like the pieces and shit. But that nigga could bomb like a motherfucker. That nigga was up, up, up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that motherfucker was everywhere. And he got caught in New Haven. And that motherfucker, they gave him some crazy shit. Uh he got like he didn't get in serious trouble. Now your ass will be locked, depending on where you paint and shit, they'll give you fed time. Like this motherfuckers out here that got fed time fucking for graffiti. Like spent like you on the highway and shit like that. Like that shit like federal offense or something. But they were supposed to fine him like fucking thousands, thousands, thousands. Cause like they found out who he was and his shit was everywhere. Like on everything in New Haven. But they made him go all through downtown New Haven, like by Yale University and shit, and paint over all the graffiti. Like that, what he had to do and shit. Yep, Seth won. uh, who was some other graffiti writers and shit we used to chill with and shit? Um, yeah, Bell Rock is my favorite though. Bell Rock is my favorite. Fucking Don. That nigga is fucking. He still paint like he do shit. It's amazing. Like this, like his sketches. Like, cause we used to go to raves and stuff like that, and like we have our sketchbooks and shit. And we be doing like you know what I'm saying, our art, like our sketchbook, and passing our sketchbooks out to different writers, and our writers, they put stuff up in our sketchbooks and stuff. I don't have any of my sketchbooks. When I got arrested, they took my shit. Um, Two of them I had. I got one that I like fucking with this like doodling on for like my graphics, t-shirt lines and shit like that. It don't really got nothing in it. I think it got like two things up in there. I might try to find that shit. Like can show y'all one day. But yeah, that like fucking we used to do bad fucking hallucinogenics and shit and this fucking do graffiti. So you can imagine like the type of art and shit like we used to do. Last time I seen Bell Rock, like he had some shit. It was like 4 pages, like put together. Like it was fucking. It was like some shit. It was like a fucking city. Like the art was like a fucking city. Like it was like the letters, but it was like a city. And it was like it was weird. Like you had to be on drugs to draw some shit like that. Like it was just fucking amazing. It was just so like fucking detailed, and it was just like fucking this bugged out shit. Um, Next time I'm in Norwalk or something like that, I know a couple spots and stuff. I might could slip down on the tracks and shit, show some video and stuff. But what time is it? Shit, I gotta get ready to go to work. Um, yeah, so I've been working. That's why I haven't been live streaming. I've been doing the first shift, and like that shit was from like 7:30 to motherfucking 3:30 and shit. That shit was killing me. Y'all know how I be up all night and shit. That shit was killing my ass. Like the time where I go to bed, that's the time where I gotta be to work and shit. That shit was fucking me up. So I finally got the third shift. Like I was done with the little training and shit it was getting me. So I'm doing the third shift now. And that shit for like 11 to 9. So that shit's great. But I be running out of gas. Last night was like my first night on that shit. But it was great. It's great. That's more I can deal with that a lot better than the other shit. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Oh man. Damn. I don't go to work drunk, motherfuckers. That's what y'all thinking. Well, I do gotta be there 11 o'clock and shit. It's easy. My job's like super fucking easy. Yo, what up, hey Rue? What's up, man? Good to see you up in here. Yeah, my job's like super easy. I just put the part in the fucking machine, hit the goddamn button, and look at it until it's done. Like Nagy said the other day, that's just like an easy bake oven. That's exactly what that shit is like. I don't do shit. I just put that motherfucking part up in there. But I gotta do inspection. Like every like 10 parts or 20 parts and stuff. I gotta do inspection. So that shit is like fucking crazy because like you got all these fucking instruments and shit. Like the height gauge and calipers and micrometers and fucking all types of shit like that. So I got a whole list of fucking dimensions and shit I gotta expect, like on a blueprint. Which is fun. I'm getting the hang of it and shit. Like I'm kind of slow with it. Like, but I'm getting the hang of it, so like I could get a little faster and shit at it. And there was one I forgot this shit. I had to fucking like get my head together. I'm like, oh shit, how the fuck I do this shit? Because I had to use I had to find the depth of a certain hole of this hole, like a thread. I had to find the depth, and I had to get a pin, actually a screw that goes in it, You know, I gotta measure the screw, see how big the screw is, and then screw the thing in, but not I can't screw it too tight because I'll be threading it. So I have to screw it just to it where it stops. And then I gotta measure like the base of the part and to the top of the screw, and then subtract the screw length from that height, and that'll give me the depth of the screw of the hole, the tapped hole. Like you gotta pay attention to shit. Like it's like you putting shit in the machine and like clamping it down and letting the motherfucker run or whatever, but like you gotta like make sure that shit's like in the vise and stuff like straight and stuff like that. You can't just throw shit up in there. You gotta make sure everything is like even and stuff like that. But it's fun. It's not like hard. It's really not hard at all. Like it's really not hard at all. It's kind of boring because like you put the shit in there and you got nothing to do but look at the fucking machine. But they got me running like 3 machines at once. So like 2 of the machines run at like 30. One is 32 minutes. One is like 35 minutes. And those got 2 operations. And the second operation, the one is like 12 minutes. And the other was like 7 minutes or something like that. Then I got a third machine that run like 3 minutes and then 15 minutes. So I just got to keep them motherfuckers going. So I got to like keep track. 2 are next to each other, but the other machine is on the other side of the fucking building. So I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. So when that shit done, like I'm trying to be there to throw the next part up in that motherfucker. Because they look at your production. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't be forgetting and like then it slows your production down. Because I got to write down how many parts I made and how many parts was fucked up and shit like that. But it's really not hard though. Like I went to school for it, I learned the shit or whatever, so it's not like hard. But anyway, anybody could do this shit. Really, it's just the measurements and stuff. You got to know how to use the instruments and stuff for the measurements. It's cool though. Like you can measure, you can like pull a strand of hair out of your head and measure the strand of hair. I could put that shit in a micrometer and it'll tell me how thick my strand of hair is. Like you dealing with like thousands of the inch. Like you got like a quarter inch, eighth inch and shit. Nah, nigga, you dealing with thousands of an inch. So you got like what? Point 250 is a quarter inch, right? 0.25, that's a quarter inch. You dealing with 0.0000. You know what I'm saying? So like that shit's crazy. It's like you got a tolerance. So it's something supposed to be like regular fraction shit, say like an inch and a quarter, but it's giving you an extra eighth of an inch above it, a bit above the inch and a quarter, or below the inch and a quarter. So long as it in between that window, the part is good. But if it's outside that window, you got a problem. You got to fix that shit. Then you got to adjust the machine and fucking shit crazy. And the dude that trained me and shit, that motherfucker, shit, he missed this calling. He should be a goddamn private investigator. That motherfucker be fucking out like, yo, how this shit happen? Like this motherfucker take the shit and look at the grooves of where the bit and shit hit that motherfucker tell you exactly where did the error happen and what did like you fucking around and do some slick shit or whatever, that motherfucker find that shit, motherfucker. Have you looking stupid. Like, motherfucker, you that slick, motherfucker. You'll find your mistake. Nigga, you be wilding this shit. When your ass be drunk. You be wilding when you drunk and shit on the internet. You about to go in and WEB the Bulls and shit. Motherfuckers gonna be mad as fuck at you about that shit, nigga. But fuck it. That motherfucker crooked exposed that son of a bitch. You hear that, hey, and shit? Nigga going in on WEB the Bulls. Yeah, in the machining uh industry, they say thousands, but a normal mathematician and shit, they would say something else. But this in that field of work, they'll say like 1,000, like something 3,000, like 0.3,000 or like 0.100,000. There was this young motherfucker. I got this young kid and shit. He can't be 20 years old and shit. He a little motherfucker and shit. Mad little. And he was asking me shit. He was like, I was doing the inspection and shit. I was scratching my head on shit. He got that shit down, like, you know what I'm saying? And he asking me shit, and like, I don't even know if I'm saying the right shit, answering him. I'm like, man, go sit your little ass down somewhere, get out my face. So I figured this shit out. But Chris Harris worked in that industry. Chris was telling me today how he was training some motherfucker and shit that was dumb as hell, fucking up shit. And they got me on these old ass CC machines. All the other machines got like the shit to take the chips out. Like, you know, you got sawdust, like you saw in wood, you got sawdust. Well, you got metal dust and shit, like a whole bunch of like metal chips. And I gotta manually take that shit out of the machine and shit. That's some bullshit. Like, I'll fend up, like, you know, those big, like, clothes bins and shit that you get from like Walmart or whatever, like the big ass bins. I'll like fill that two of those motherfuckers up. That shit ridiculous. I be having them shits all over me. I be looking like the fucking Tin Man and shit from goddamn Wizard of Oz. Hate that shit. I tried to slip out of there this morning and shit without doing that shit. That motherfucker's like, yo, you need to clean that motherfucking machine. I'm like, God damn it. There was another dude that graduated with me. He got hired there. I was trying to leave that shit for that nigga. I was like, yeah, this nigga getting a taste of this shit of what I had to do today. Like, nope, still had to do that shit. Mad as fuck. Whoa, that's what he said? The Nazis treated me better than my white colleagues in the US? Damn. You know that what's his name? What that motherfucking name? Shit. Fuck. What's his name? Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey used to write letters to a white supremacist. And they used to admire, like, he used to admire his books. Because you know they believed in separatism and shit. So like they was cool. Like when you hear the stories about Malcolm X had meetings with Elijah Muhammad with the KKK. They were trying to get their own land. And you know the KKK down with it because they don't want to be around them niggas. So we're like, yeah, maybe the government will give these niggas their own land. That shit is crazy, yo. But when I was a Hebrew Israelite, I had some of my best conversations with white supremacists. I remember I worked on a temp job this long time ago and shit, right? 90s. Straight up white power motherfucker and shit. He was on the temp job and shit with me. He had the fucking, I forgot what he had, the SS shit on his arm tattooed, some bullshit. But you know, like I'm telling what I'm about and shit. Like and we was agreeing on shit. And I swear on everything and shit. We had some of the best conversations and shit. Two racist motherfuckers. Hell yeah, all those Afrocentrics is bogus as hell. But I thought W.E. Du Bois was like on some other shit though. That's what I thought. Think he crazy. Yeah, Nagy be on some shit, Robert. He shocked me when he told me that shit. I was like, damn. Yeah, I gotta get the fuck up off of here and shit. I gotta be working an hour. I thought he was just like a regular nigga and shit. Just keep that shit 100. I didn't think he was like one of those like weird motherfuckers. I just thought he was like one of them uppity niggas and shit, as they could say. Them uppity niggas. I didn't know that motherfucker was working with the goddamn Nazis. That shit crazy. They can be mad as fuck at you, nigga. They can be mad at the motherfuckers. Fuck them. Fuck them. Burn their asses up. I had one of his books. I couldn't even tell you what that shit, anything that was in it. It been so long. I brought that shit before even he came a Hebrew Israelite. I wasn't even a Hebrew Israelite when that got that book. I think it's called The Miseducation of the Black Man or something like that. By W.E.B.D. Du Bois. It was like over my. It was like I used to buy books that was like over my head, like you know what I'm saying, like shit that I really didn't understand and stuff like that. Like the Dr. Ben books. Dr. Ben was like one of the first books like I brought, like We the Black Jews and shit. I brought that shit like I might have had that in high school. I might have brought that book in high school. You know, I didn't understand what was in it. And for what I remember, it wasn't even a well put together book. It was like a bunch of like clippings and shit like that. I would like to go back and look at those books. And you probably can see how stupid a lot of that shit is in there. But Dr. Ben lied about his credentials. He lied about a lot of his shit. About him having a PhD and all this shit. The motherfucker lying like a motherfucker. He had a master's in engineering, I believe it was, from the University of Puerto Rico. Because he was half Puerto Rican. His father was a Falasian Jew, and his mother was Puerto Rican. Nigga crazy. Yeah, nationalism. Know who I can't stand now? Malcolm X. I can't fucking stand Malcolm X goddamn ass. There was a new movie that was recently came out like last year. It was called like Last Friday or Next Friday or some shit like that. It had a weird name, but but the movie was talked about the relations with Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, um, what's the singer name? Um, Otis Redding, I think it was Otis Redding, and another famous black entertainer or something, right? And it basically the movie basically showed how fucking retarded fucking Malcolm X was. And like how like these people they're like down to earth. Even they might be a little like you know what I mean off or whatever, but they was down to earth. They was like, yo, we can't be like thinking the way you thinking and shit, like motherfucker. What the fuck wrong with you? But I listened to some couple of interviews. Um, People interviewing Malcolm X, total cult shit. Nothing but cult rhetoric. Contradicts himself and shit. He's a fucking idiot. Or was a fucking idiot. Like, I don't respect him at all and shit. Like, I used to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? All black people and shit. Saw the Malcolm X movie and all that bullshit. Man, I went and looked to those interviews and shit where he went on people TV shows and shit. That shit fucking ridiculous. I gotta do a video on that. I gotta do a video on that shit. And just show how ridiculous like Malcolm X spoke. And show how he contradicts himself and a bunch of shit. But yeah, I gotta get up off of here. I gotta get ready, y'all. Thanks for hanging out and shit with me. And shit. I might go on. I don't know. I'll probably gonna go to sleep when I come home from work. But maybe before work tomorrow. Doodoo boy. What? Yeah, he's next after Doo boy. Doodoo boy. I don't know what you talking about, nigga. I'm laughing though. But yeah, I'm up out of here, y'all. Killer be the goddamn Witchfinder General. Like, share, subscribe. I'm about this motherfucker. Thanks, y'all.